Our modern economy runs on debt. Debt allows businesses to offer goods and services and to grow. Even many of our governments operate on deficit spending. But just like money, debt isn't a strictly financial relationship. There are all types of debts and obligations and ways we cooperate with each other in day-to-day life that sort of build our social fabric. And so I owe debts to my parents, I owe debts to my teachers for teaching me, for friends and family for helping me out. And this creates all kinds of sort of very complex relationships that can be very difficult to tease out. So for example, if a friend cares for me when I'm sick, if I were to offer her cash or money, that might be strange and rude. But if I were to make her dinner or buy her a gift, even if it's a month down the line, then that might be more acceptable. And so there's questions in every situation about what debts should and shouldn't be paid, how should they be paid, what's the acceptable way to do that. And that's also very cultural and contextual, depending on where you are and who you are. But if you have a financial debt, it seems that always must be paid. And so what money allows us to do is to precisely quantify our debts to one another. But this doesn't really remove the moral element. When we think about debt, there's the words like freedom and guilt and redemption all have ancient roots in the language of finance and debt. And so this is deeply embedded in our sense of morality and in our sense of right and wrong. And so while money may sort of clarify certain elements of debt by precisely quantifying a debt, it doesn't necessarily remove the moral element. So debt and morality are closely tied together, but this relationship can also be extremely dysfunctional. So one famous example is the Republic of Haiti, which was founded by former plantation slaves who rebelled and ultimately defeated Napoleon's army. So after France lost the war, they demanded reparations. So they demanded to be paid for the cost of the lost plantations and also for the cost of the war. And the total sum was something around 20 billion US dollars in today's terms. It took Haiti 100 years to pay off this debt. Meanwhile, other nations were setting embargoes on Haiti until they paid off the debt. And so this ultimately crushed the Haitian economy and crushed a lot of the potential in that country. And so this has led to massive amounts of human suffering, and how can we justify that? Or even smaller acts like seizing property or imprisonment based on debt. And the answer seems to be, well, it's a moral imperative. We all must pay our debts. If you look at history, though, that's actually not true. There's been a number of times where debts have been forgiven, big debts and small debts. A famous example is the Marshall Plan after World War II. So whether or not you have to pay your debts depends a lot on who you are, the time, and the context that you live in. So whether or not it's fairly or evenly applied, the fact that debt is so closely tied to our morality has really important implications for banks, whose main business is debt. So the question is, how do they, if banks can destroy a life by giving a loan and destroy a life by not giving a loan, where is their responsibility? How do they determine what makes a debt good and what makes a debt bad? And so when we bring this back into just banking, we realize that there is there's always a financial element of debt, but there's also this social element of debt. And just banks really try to look at both of these elements in order to make decisions.